Hey, so I am a few minutes late, best laid plans and all that. I promised to come on at 11, but the postman came and a few other things needed sorting. I was at the post office actually posting remedies for my clients. I'm a homeopath. I've been practicing for 25 years. And one of the reasons I started this menopause group on Facebook was because I often say the same thing to every woman that comes in. There are certain things that I feel we all need at menopause that have different functions maybe throughout the menopause. So as we go into menopause, there might be one action for us, or several actions, and then we go through menopause and they might have several other actions for us, and then we come post menopause and we still need some of those supports in our life. And that can be, I mean, that's huge. We might be talking about exercise, we might be talking about foods, we might be talking about self care and why all these things help us at different stages of our life, and why it's a really, really great time to set in place some practices that are going to serve you well into old age. And I feel in menopause that we get to know ourselves better. Many women would say that they go back to their old self. You know, they're like I post menopause, that we are finding ourselves, we're not in that reproductive phase. We're not trying to make babies, or struggling to, or not, or do we want to get pregnant? Do we not? All those things that we can talk about that occupy a huge part of our, middle years, if you like, from our teens, from our puberty, right through to menopause. And then the focus like really, really shifts. But there are still lots of things that we need to put in place to maintain good health into older age. And I didn't really start properly cleansing until I was in menopause. And then I felt so good on it that that's become something that I do 2 or 3 times a year. So I do a big superfood cleanse. And I've worked with superfoods for a long time. And they're different from herbs. They are very micronutrient dense. We have a real problem with a lack of nutrients in our diet. So adding in a small amount of superfoods. So they're super because so much is in a small space, and you often don't need to take very much to get a great action. And that actually is why I thought, gosh, I need to talk about this in the menopause space. Because this week I had a client who'd been told by a very good healer to take cacao. Now, cacao is a fantastic superfood. It's really rich in magnesium, and that is one of the things I say to nearly every woman that comes in to see me in my practice. You need more magnesium. And you can look back at other videos I've done in the YouTube space and in the menopause, Facebook group, where I've talked about how important magnesium is for each stage of menopause. Well, we could be getting that from a superfood. We don't have to go to an isolated supplement. We don't necessarily have to have Epsom salt baths in the evening or use a spray. We could be getting it from our foods, but our foods aren't as nutrient dense as they should be. So we need to go to superfoods that have an awful lot of nutrients in them. Now, cacao is amazing as a substance. So this is raw chocolate before we've made it into, a chocolate bar. So I'm not talking Mars bars, I'm not talking Twix, I'm not talking Cadbury's, I'm talking raw cacao. And so it's really rich in magnesium. It's really rich in iron. If you're having heavy periods, that could be a really helpful superfood for you to put back in what you're losing in terms of iron and minerals. And it's also rich in something called polyphenols. So it has the capacity to help rewire the gut. But my client was really sensitive. She is really sensitive. She does really well on homeopathy, which is a very subtle medicine. But when she started to take a lot of this every day, she couldn't sleep. She felt wired. She ultimately felt dizzy after a week. And I and she were like, is it the new remedies that you're on? And I thought, well, she's never really had a bad reaction to these remedies. In fact, some of the remedies I'd given her in her last appointment were the same remedies that she always does well on. So I just said, you know what, hold off, step back from everything. And then she went to see an Ayurvedic doctor who, like me, said, It's the cacao. You're taking too much of it. So when you're taking superfoods, start slowly. Start with a little amount and build it up if needed. So cacao, a wonderful element, but as you heard, you might not want to have it at the end of the day because it can be quite stimulating. So you might have that cacao as your morning drink, and start off with a small amount and build up. So if needed, because you might get what you want of it, out of say 5 grams of it. So for her, I think it was 15 grams a day, way too much. And if you look online, you'll see that some people are taking 25, they're taking an awful lot, 25 grams a day. Well, listen into your body. How sensitive are you? At menopause, we can be exquisitely sensitive compared to how we have been. So small and often, amazing superfood and delicious, of course. And you can make a cacao drink by, I like to add a little bit of chili, a little bit of cinnamon, and I might sweeten it a little bit, and I might put it into some almond milk or some oat milk or even just regular organic cow's milk. Cacao, an amazing superfood, but start low and don't have it before bedtime, because the last thing you want is to really stimulate yourself, because it is full of antioxidants. It could be a little bit like having a coffee before bedtime. That's totally not on for me. So let's go on to another superfood. I've focused on superfoods generally today, and I'm making them, how would you use them for menopause? Because you could use, obviously, there might be other times in your life where you're low in iron, and you're looking at using cacao for that reason, or to boost your magnesium, or to diversify the gut flora. We're focusing on that for menopause because at menopause, if we're bleeding a lot, we're going to need to attend to iron. And if we're going through periods of stress, we're going to need to attend to magnesium. Now, something that I absolutely love, and you'll see me talk about on my sleep conversations, is sour cherry juice. Sour cherry juice is the one food, some people call it tart cherry juice. So it's different to regular cherry juice, although both are very, very rich in antioxidants and will be doing you an awful lot of good. But tart cherry juice, particularly, um, enhances your capacity to make melatonin. Melatonin is what is, part of getting to sleep. So to relax, to soothe, to feel comforted before bedtime, tart cherry juice is fantastic. So this is a concentrate. And this is a company called Optima. I'll put a link below. Another brand here in the UK is Cherry Active. There's a company that I work with that is based in Europe and America, and their product is called Apothecary, exactly the same thing. So go with which region works for you, and I'll share the links below. But I would say a tablespoon of this in some warm water at bedtime, absolutely fantastic for helping your body make melatonin. It's actually wrong to say it is rich in melatonin. What it does is it enhances the gut flora that is the precursor to us making melatonin. We make melatonin in the pineal gland. So there are many things that we can do to nurture the pineal gland. One of them is this. So really, for me, this is a fantastic superfood for menopause, because so many of us have sleep problems, sleep issues. So these are foodstuffs. These are not strictly herbs, but they're kind of moving into the herbal realm. Another superfood that I really like is bee pollen. Now, this is rich in B vitamins, and it is great for the immune system as well. So we think of bee pollen as being an immune system support and rich in B vitamins. It's easy to remember, isn't it? B for B vitamins. Why would we need B vitamins at menopause? Well, these are the vitamins amongst which we've got folate, and we've got B12, that is very easy to be deficient in these days. And B vitamins look after our nervous system. They're a kind of stress response when it comes to vitamins. So eating food that is rich in B vitamins is a good idea anyway. But B vitamins are also water soluble, so we need to replace them often in our diet. And that means that we're looking to nutrients. Now, I'm going to talk about green foods in a minute, because there's some amazing green superfoods. But green foods, for instance, are rich in B vitamins. So you can go and look this up on the internet and see what foods are rich in B vitamins. And you'll find that it's harder for strict vegans to bump up their B vitamins. Now, a vegan might not want to have bee pollen, so you're going to have to work hard to find your B vitamins in green foods. So I've just taken the lid off there. And these are like little grains. And I'm going to tip around half a teaspoon into my palm. And I would sprinkle that onto my breakfast. I might eat it raw. I actually really like the taste of it raw. And I might put it into a smoothie. So half a teaspoon a day. That really is superfood. That's all you need to give your B vitamins a bit of a boost and support your immune system. Now, this particular one I bought in South Africa. So when I travel, if I see someone who's producing bee pollen, I like to kind of gather that from different places in the world. So I've had it from England, I've had it from Italy. This was South African. I've bought it in Australia. So I like to have a bit of bee pollen around the house, and I might have it more routinely in the winter when I want to support my immune system. Now, for many women, they feel that their immunity is low before their periods, and they say things, this is particularly at menopause, feel like I'm coming down with, I get a bit of a sore throat, my head feels fuzzy like I'm going to catch a cold. And that can show you that your immunity is struggling a little bit with all the hormonal changes, and it's dipping when you're low before your period. And your energy might be a bit lower, and it could indicate that the thyroid is talking to you saying, I need a bit of support. So listen in and think about, how can I support myself? So it might be that that's the case for you. Those days before the period, have a little bit of bee pollen. There are many other superfoods that look after the immune system. So in the past, I've used baobab powder, for instance. That's another one that's quite good for immunity. And there are many where we are going to a superfood, not strictly a herb, to boost our nutrition in some way. And it's this micronutrients. So start small, build it up if need be. Now, I said I was going to talk about green foods. Just before that, I'm going to point out another one. I'll put a link for this below. This is, again, from the company Platinum in Europe, or Purium in the States. And this is Bee Energetic. So this is a combination of bee pollen and white American ginseng. Now, red ginseng, a lot of women use at menopause. So generally speaking, the ginseng that we see around is red ginseng, unless we seek out white American ginseng. White American ginseng is actually better as a kind of support for men in menopause. It's a little bit more to do with balancing our hormones, so it's more adaptogenic. And I would, if you want to take an energy boost, you don't want something as strong as maca, which is another superfood I'll talk about in a minute. Maca can be quite heating, I find, in the system. White American ginseng, more balancing, great source of energy. So this is Bee Energetic, it's called. And so it's bee pollen, white American ginseng, really nice combination if you're looking for that energetic boost. What I like this for is for women who feel a bit narky before their periods. So if you notice that, peri-menopause, pre-menopause, you're feeling edgy, you're feeling a bit narky, you're feeling you're irritable, you're a bit snappy with your family, it can be really good to take this in the week or two before your period, the second half of your cycle, when really your body should be rich in progesterone. But we've got other hormones kind of interfering. I would say this is great for women who are slightly testosterone dominant, which can happen. So that punchy, a bit aggressive, a bit narky before the periods, Be Energetic could be really helpful. So let's talk about some greens. So the green superfoods, there are many. This one is cracked cell chlorella. And this is one of the cornerstones of the 10-day cleanse that I work with, that I personally do 2 or 3 times a year, because I recognized through menopause that my liver was congested, that the liver is weak in my family. This is where we get personal, we get individual. And if I do a cleanse, I drop a bit of weight, I feel energized, my muscles, tendons, and ligaments perform better. The liver in Chinese medicine looks after muscle, tendons, and ligaments. So, a cornerstone of green superfoods in a cleanse for me really, really works. The reason I started to take green superfoods in the first place, and this was many, many, many years ago, was because I had a lot of amalgam fillings in my mouth, and blue-green algae and cracked cell chlorella are green superfoods that help draw those heavy metals out of the body. So green superfoods have a detoxifying action. They really help the liver in its function to clear these kind of heavy metals, chemical residues, etc., from the system. Cracked cell chlorella and blue-green algae are what are called chelators. They really draw heavy metals out of the system. We don't want heavy metals in the system because they are what contributes to brain fog. There you'll see people starting to talk and say, is really what's going on at menopause a sign that we need to detox from heavy metals? In my case, absolutely. So doing the 10-day cleanse on a regular basis with a lot of cracked cell chlorella every day for 10 days really helped me shift heavy metals, shift liver toxicity, think more clearly, feel lighter, feel more bendy and stretchy in my yoga classes, and generally gave me clarity. So I've had people work with things like cracked cell chlorella who thought they were clear of their heavy metals and realize, wow, still some way to go. And of course, we could pick heavy metals up as we go along. If we eat a lot of sushi, there are certain industries, there are certain locations in the world where that's the case. I'm just going to switch that off. That is my phone. Just 1 minute. It's actually my phone reminding me to do a 10-minute meditation every day because I really want to get into that practice. I love it when I do 10 minutes of meditation every day. And that will help your pineal gland. Your pineal gland thrives on a bit of meditation and having a bit of inner vision and external vision about where you're going in life is part of the domain, really, of the pineal gland. So yeah, that's my reminder not to chat too long and to do a bit of meditation. So cracked cell chlorella, blue-green algae, another one in that really the big trio of green superfoods is spirulina. Now, spirulina is it's another green superfood, but I find it can be a little bit irritating. Some people can get a little bit of stomach irritation. It can be too heating in the system. So again, listen into that. How is that for you? Build up slowly with green superfoods, especially something like cracked cell chlorella, because it's quite powerful. The other thing that happens with green foods and green superfoods, and I'm going to include all the brassicas, the cabbages, even spinach, is that they are quite bitter. So the bitter foods stimulate the bile. Now, that's part of the liver function to digest fats. So it's really gallbladder function. And so the green foods, the bitter foods, help your body to metabolize in the liver. I said they're liver cleansers, but they also help you metabolize fats more efficiently. So the green superfoods, that and the bitter foods also balance sweet cravings. So if you're finding you've got sweet cravings at menopause, increase your green foods per se. Think about having green superfoods like cracked cell chlorella or blue-green algae, because that will really help defeat those cravings. And that brings me on to this product called Sea Power Algae. Now, I mentioned blue-green algae. This is actually 4 algae. It includes the blue-green algae. It's got a green algae. It's got brown algae, which is very rich in iodine and good for your thyroid. And it's got red algae, which is very good because it's rich in calcium. And that can really help with, again, immune function, defeating viruses, etc. So the sea power algae is 4 different algae, not all green, but they're coming from the seaweed realm. So we've got rich in lots of minerals. And this one could be really helpful for somebody who's definitely got thyroid issues surfacing and emerging at menopause. So that The thyroid it looks after your metabolic rate, the speed at which you digest and process foods. And if you're gaining weight in spite of eating well, chances are your thyroid's talking to you, and a superfood like this could really help you level out and lose some weight. So at the moment, I've got a sense that my thyroid needs a bit of support. It's traditionally it's gone low for me through menopause. So I'm taking 6 of these every day for a few months, and just to kind of give my thyroid a bit of support. So I just had some latent sense of tiredness, and I was like, okay, my thyroid's talking. Let me get into some homeopathy and some superfoods to support it. Another great one for energy that I really like, which is kind of superfoods. I mean, I don't, is it specifically a superfood if we talk about electrolytes? So electrolytes are it's about energy. It's about helping the body remineralize in order to function better. So this is like a kind of a passageway to us absorbing nutrients more efficiently. It's this particular one, ionic elements. Um, Several of these that I could refer to. Basically, are what you're looking for is ocean trace minerals, humic and fulvic acid. So humic and fulvic acid come from more from the earth. Ocean trace minerals, obviously from the sea. There's an awful lot of electrolyte solutions out there which are only from the sea. Now that's okay. You could be saving yourself a lot of money by making what's called a sole solution. So that's using sea salt or Himalayan salts to make a saturated salt solution and take your minerals in that way. Now it can be a really good and potent way to do that. What I like about this particular one and a couple of the others, I'll share a link below, is that it's also going to the humic and fulvic acid for its source. So we've got a diversity of sources for the mineral salts. They're delivered in an ionic form, which I prefer to nano. Nano is generally much more chemical. You really need to look at the manufacturers and how they're making stuff with nano. So I like these ionic elements that comes from the earth, from the sea. And I see women who are very tired at menopause, very low energy, doing so well on just adding a little bit of this to their water every day. So that to me is a superfood. It's not a plant. It's coming from plant material if it's humic and fulvic acid, but it's just been bedded down for many years and become very, very concentrated. So I haven't talked about some of the classics that we might consider superfoods. Maca was one of them I mentioned earlier. I'm just going to talk about ashwagandha. So here we're moving into herbs. Less foodstuffs, more herbs, and it's just good to make that distinction. Herbs tend to have, rather than being micronutrient dense, they tend to have more of a blocking or a pushing action. So they block something from happening or they make something happen. And in that sense, they are material. And again, you want to start off low and build up. So maca, I find, is fantastic if we've got issues of fertility. If we've got, and that's for men and women, it's an amazing superfood. It's actually a ground up root, so it is a true superfood. And I find it has more of an energizing action and it can be heating. So quite a lot of women at menopause find it's harder to digest. It makes the liver work harder, and it has a heating action, which obviously doesn't feel great, does it, if you've got hot flushes? So listen out for how your superfood is for you. This is one that I prefer for the vast majority of women, and I've just got a jar of it because I buy it in a powder form, and it's ashwagandha. Now, what you need of this is like a level teaspoon of this in some warm milk, almond milk, oat milk, that kind of thing, and maybe with a little bit of honey. It's a great bedtime drink. What I do is I mix it into my breakfast, so it forms part of my breakfast, and it's an adaptogenic herb, strictly speaking, from the Ayurvedic tradition more. So ashwagandha for me defeats something called Campylobacter. So this is a bacteria that we pretty much all have in the gut, which was ruling the roost for me, creating anxiety and tension. So I had ashwagandha every day for a good 6 weeks, and that really leveled things out for me. I would take it with um, a daily fiber blend, so that's soluble and insoluble fiber, which these days is a superfood for us. I think in the olden days we would get these nutrients from our food. We don't have food these days that is providing the nutrient that we need, and there's plenty of studies on that to show us that. So there's just some of the superfoods that I find to be useful at menopause. There are others. There are herbs. There's herbs like rhodiola, damiana. We get more specific about specific symptoms. And that to me is a slightly more medicinal action, a corrective action for certain symptoms. What I've outlined here are things that you can use quite generally, but start low, especially when it comes to things which are very potent, like the cacao. Enjoy that cacao early in the morning. Some women use that to replace coffee, so they want to drop the coffee addiction. So, yeah, some really great superfoods there. I am going to go off and do my meditation, but I'm also going to have some breakfast. And I've been doing yoga this morning, so I haven't actually broken fast. But a little bit later, I'm going to mix this with some daily fiber blend, put some kefir in, and have some stewed fruit. Oh, and put in some hemp seed oil. So I would also, just before we finish, some of the oils which are targeted that do certain things like hemp seed, flaxseed, evening primrose oil, they are moving into the superfood space as well, because we are then using oils to target to do certain things. So you might take evening primrose oil, for instance, because it helps balance premenstrual syndrome symptoms. I take flaxseed or hemp seed because it helps defeat any gut issues. So, you could use flaxseed, for instance, around mending a leaky gut. So we're starting to use these foods for particular things. There's just such amazing resources out there. And with all these superfoods, you don't have to lose a lot to get a great effect. So I'm going to leave it there. There's lots of gems in here, and I will put some information in the comments below. If you're watching it on YouTube and you want some links, just comment and let me know. And if you're watching it on YouTube, smash that like button, please. And if you're watching it on Facebook, hashtag replay keeps the video live for others to listen and learn. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.